Ibarudes. Okay, so today I'm gonna talk about how you can become fluent in a foreign language and what you need to do and what it takes. Okay, so I'm sure a lot of you guys have probably tried a couple of methods like some kind of language learning app or studying at schools, etc., etc. But what's most important is not so much how you do it, but it's more about the amount of hours that you use the language. And it's important that you also use the language. So yeah, by using I mean like anything is fine really, like reading books, watching movies, talking with people, writing to people, writing something, reading YouTube comments, anything is fine. As long as you use it and make sure that you use it for a lot of hours. So the hours you do it is the most important thing. In other words, this would not be very effective. Hello! Okay, let's go on a walk. Let's learn some English. Look, a snake. Snake. Let's jump. Oh, nice, good. Let's run. Again, let's go. High touch. Water. Flower. Lena, let's go home. Lena, bye-bye.
Bye.
See you next month. Okay, so that was my daughter, Lena. She's half Japanese, and my wife is talking Japanese to her while I'm talking English to her. Now in the video here, you saw me just playing around with her for like, I don't know, 30 minutes, talking some English, and then I said, oh, see you next month. And that's not gonna be enough. So even if you do something like that, you talk with people or you use the language in some kind of way for an hour, a month, it's not gonna do anything for you becoming fluent in the language. And it is also important that you actually use the language and not only study in the language, because if you only study, even if you do it for a lot of hours, if you've only been studying and never using it, it's kind of like learning a martial art, like karate or something, and only practicing the moves, like the forms, like and never doing any kind of sparring or any kind of fighting, like no real life experience. So in other words, if you only studied language, you will know a lot of like forms, like grammar and a lot of words, but you won't really know where and when to use them. Of course, you need to have you need to study a little bit in order to get the base, because if you have no knowledge at all before starting to use the language, it can be pretty hard to use it. It can be pretty boring and just stressful. So I suggest you study a little bit, but you need to make sure that you also use the language. In other words, you don't want to be this guy. Ready? Fight! Okay, so how much do you need to use a language before you become like fluent? Well, it depends. I mean, some people learn faster than others, but in my case, I was watching anime, Japanese anime, when I was learning Japanese for about around 4 or 5 hours a day for maybe 5 years or something. I was watching with subtitles, but yeah. And I think before that, I studied Japanese just a little bit, like maybe 50 hours, something, give or take. Then I also talked with Japanese people online through Skype and chatting, using different websites and applications. I did that for about maybe 500 hours maybe or something. I don't know exactly, but something like that, yeah. So in other words, a total of maybe you need a couple of thousand hours at least to become fluent. So after I did all of that, I was more or less fluent. I mean, I could hold a conversation with a Japanese person in Japanese without feeling too awkward or like feeling that without me or the other person feeling too bored. So I mean, I was good enough to be satisfied. I can say that much, yeah. So yeah, you should probably expect to at least use the language for a couple of thousand hours, maybe like 4 or 5 or even more maybe, before you become really fluent. It depends, of course, on how efficient you use. I mean, I was watching a lot of anime with subtitles and it wasn't like the most efficient way to do it, but still, it takes a lot of time. So would I recommend trying to become fluent in a different language? Well, that depends on what your goals are. If you don't feel like putting thousands of hours doing it to become fluent, I don't suggest you do it. I mean, time is limited. We only have so much time, so you gotta make sure you use it wisely. And if you don't feel like it's worth it, don't do it. And if you feel like it's worth it, do it. I mean, sure. You need to make that decision. I'm only telling you it's gonna take a lot of time. It's gonna take thousands of hours. So, like for example, if you say 5,000 hours, that's about 4 hours a day for 4 years, including weekends. But yeah, go ahead if you want. Now in the next video, I'm gonna talk more about ways you can use the language in order to get fluent. I mean, it's not that complicated, but just some advice and like what to think about when using a language, you know, in order to make it more efficient. And maybe like some things that might be less efficient maybe. And yeah, but please check it out. So have a blast. See you guys. Bye.